Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. My name is Plami, and in this episode of Plami's Thoughts On, I'm gonna be starting and hopefully gonna be continuing to do in the future my reviews to The Flash, and specifically Season 7 Episode 1. I'm hoping that the show is going to be interesting enough in this coming season for me to actually do videos for each episode each week, but I honestly don't want to promise that I'm gonna be doing that because there's already a few series that I'm gonna be doing. I'm doing weekly reviews for, like The Walking Dead. After The Walking Dead, there's gonna be Fear the Walking Dead, which is I'm also gonna be reviewing, and it's gonna become too much for me to do weekly reviews for a bunch of shows in combination with all the different videos that I do on my channel. But if there is something that I want to talk about, like there is for these first two episodes of the season, I'm definitely going to be doing that in the future. But yeah, this first episode, All's Well That Ends Well, was honestly really good. I really enjoyed it. But before we get into what I loved about it, I need to give you a little bit of a backstory with how I became a fan of The Flash and what I love about it and what I don't love about it. I think it was right before Season 4, maybe as Season 3 was airing, I ended up stumbling upon a little bit of Season 2 on TV, and I kind of fell in love with this show a lot. I like The Flash as a superhero, and the fact that it's also very heavily surrounded by time travel ideas. As a fan of time travel stories and as a fan of Doctor Who, that intrigued me right off the bat, so I really fell in love with this show. But I haven't really watched the first 3 seasons that much. I've watched people's reactions of them on YouTube, but I haven't really watched them myself. So at some point in the future, I'm gonna be going back to all the seasons and reviewing all the episodes, if there is enough demand for that as well. But yeah, I ended up watching the first few episodes of Season 4 when they were airing, but they weren't really that interesting to me. They weren't really that great. Season 5, the same thing. I watched a little bit of Season 5. I kept up with Season 5 a little bit more than I did with Season 4, but again, I kind of was lost in the second half of the season. I just couldn't really give a shit too much. But there was a little bit of a change with Season 6, because Season 6 got a new showrunner. For those of you who don't know, they got a new showrunner with the name Eric Wallace, I believe. Right? That's the new showrunner? Give me a second to check. Yeah, Eric Wallace is the showrunner, and honestly, he improved the show. It made it from like a 5 to a 10 out of 10 for me, or maybe an 8 is more fair rating for it, because I didn't even realize there were certain things missing in the show for me to enjoy it, but in Season 6, the emotion was up to 11. Like, the characters were actually reacting emotionally like real people to things. They weren't just quippy, dumb characters, or like Cisco wasn't just the nerd, and Caitlin wasn't just the doctor. They were emotional. They were, like, I don't know, their arguments actually had emotion. The characters showed anger, sadness, jealousy, and all these different emotions, and I really liked that. It felt like the show matured in a way. I don't know if mature is the right word, but it felt so much better. And one of the first few episodes of Season 6 actually has probably my favorite episode of The Flash, or at least one of my favorites, which is the episodes with Cisco and Breacher, where we find out that Gypsy apparently died, and in which we actually see Cisco's doppelganger, who is from a parallel universe. To me, this episode felt so quintessential Doctor Who. It felt so similar in concept to Doctor Who, and I really love it. It's such a good episode. And it was a Cisco-centered episode as well. So I really loved it, but again, I feel like because this show is just maybe a little bit too long, and because it's not intriguing enough for me to keep watching it weekly, I kind of fell out of keeping up with it. I don't know, maybe it's just because I am too busy in my life, so I just can't really keep up with it, but I definitely still felt that it was better than the previous seasons. Like, everything was better. The comedy was better, the action was better, the acting was better, everything was so much better. So going into season 7, I kind of expected it's probably going to be as well, but I did hear a few bad things about the second half of season 6, so I was a little worried, but honestly, this first episode completely won me over again. I love it. So yeah, in this episode we have Barry still without his speed, or at least with very little speed. And I don't really want to talk about some of the more boring stuff, like him being in hibernation and waking up and having that cool helmet. That's cool, but it's not what the episode was about. What the episode was about was Wells, and specifically Nash Wells, and finding a way to power the artificial Speed Force, which at first, honestly, last season when I saw what the artificial Speed Force looked like, I thought that it was kind of lame, because the Speed Force, like the old Speed Force, was a multi-dimensional or other-dimensional being, you know, and in this case the artificial Speed Force is just a machine. I don't know, it felt very lame in a way. But I was still wondering how exactly they were gonna power up that thing, because after all, Barry apparently had his powers from a multi-dimensional being, even though in the first season he got his powers from a lightning. And then in... which season was it? Season 2? He got his powers by again doing the explosion of the particle accelerator, but that ended up killing him and ended up in the Speed Force. So yeah, I don't know, but it feels like they could have done the particle accelerator stuff again and give him superpowers, the same superpowers again, so I don't really feel like they needed to do the Speed Force shenanigans, but still, it was interesting to think about how they're gonna power it up, and honestly, the way they explained it was actually really cool. But I really, really enjoyed seeing Tom Cavanagh in this episode and seeing all the different versions of Harrison Wells again. Because at first, when we had the Council of Wells in season 4, I think it was, it felt a little bit dumb and it felt like it was made for jokes. But in this episode, it was actually really cool to see Harry, HR and Sherlock Wells again, especially HR, who we haven't seen ever since he died in season 3, and it's still not really clear how is he alive again, or I guess how is he in his head, because he died before Crisis stuff. For me personally, it's not really that hard to think about how is he alive, but I don't know, if I just don't understand why it bothers people so much about how the hell is he alive, he died such a long time ago. Because like, it's superheroes, like with Crisis and all these characters being alive, is it that far-fetched to consider that the multiverse particles of HR would end up in Nash? Like, it's already a very techno-bubble explanation about how the hell are all of them inside of Nash, let alone HR. So it's not really that far-fetched for me to kind of rationalize, you know? But it was really cool to see him again. And even though I didn't really watch season 3, I don't know, I guess HR still left a bit of an impact on me, because I got emotional when I saw him. I like literally instantly smiled. I don't know. I haven't even really watched season 3. I've watched reactions of season 3, but I haven't watched it myself. So yeah, I don't know. It still made me smile right off the bat. It was interesting to see Nash struggle with sacrificing himself in this episode to activate the artificial Speed Force. Because I feel like in a lot of these shows, so many of the characters are noble and selfless and are completely fine with sacrificing themselves, which is fine to have those characters like that, but I feel like it's more interesting when you have the character actually doubt themselves and not wanting to do what must be done, not wanting to sacrifice themselves, because whenever they actually sacrifice themselves, it just feels that much more impactful, which is what happens in this episode. In typical Flash fashion, we had some dumb stupidity that had to take most of the episode and for us to laugh at, which was all the different Wellses being inside of the body of Barry Allen, which honestly actually was pretty fun, seeing Grant Gustin play all the different Wellses, and honestly, he nailed them pretty well. Except maybe HR, I feel like he played him a little bit over the top. I think he did the best with Sherlock, maybe, and to a lesser extent with Harry, because I feel like with Harry, he just imitated the tone of the voice of Tom Cavanagh whenever he plays Harry, and it just felt a little wooden, while with Sherlock, I feel like he just nailed him right off the bat, and that was personally my favorite Wells that Grant Gustin ended up playing. But yeah, that was pretty fun and entertaining. I like that. It was fun, at least, and enjoyable. But then we come to the emotional part of the episode, where Nash Wells has to sacrifice himself to give Barry his powers back, because he has to save the city from a plane with a bomb attached on it. And honestly, that was such a heartbreaking scene. I fucking wept. Like, it's so hard for me to cry. If you've seen my reactions to the cartoons that I've done, which is like TMNT 2003, Transformers Armada, currently I'm doing TMNT 2012, Full Metal Alchemist, and Generator X. Even in the saddest scenes, I don't really feel like, I feel like crying, but I don't really end up crying. While in this case, I don't know, like, I feel like something came over me and I felt like I was losing a parent. I genuinely couldn't stop crying. It was so weird, honestly. I was feeling sad, sure, but I guess that's just to show how well that scene was executed. For me to genuinely tear up and cry. It was really emotional. I'm surprised by how emotional it was. Like, usually with these kind of scenes, sure, I'll drop a tear or two, but I wouldn't really have to force myself to stop crying. But yeah, it was really emotional. I think the most emotional out of the Harrison Wells' goodbyes was probably HR's. Sherlock was fine. Like, all the sentences that all the characters said were really emotional and very much in line with their characters. But for me, HR just hit on a different level, because his words where he just says, "Hey BA, you're so fast." I don't know, it's just so innocent and it's so emotional to see and to think that he's gonna be dying again and sacrificing himself again. It just hit me. It really freaking hit me. Although, again, I still like the other lines by the other Wellses, like Sherlock's "this is not a good situation" or something along those lines, and Harry's line about the fact that Barry made him a better person. All of them hit really hard emotionally. And even Nash's "you're always gonna be the Flash, with or without me," because I'm pretty sure that was Nash saying that. It was all so emotional. It's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, and saddest scenes I've ever seen in The Flash, for me personally. Like, I didn't even realize how much I love Tom Cavanagh and Wells. Like, having a Wells in this show, like, wow, it really blew me away. And it's also it really shows the talent of Tom Cavanagh, because I'm pretty sure like that whole scene was like a one shot or with very few shots, and I'm pretty sure he did it only one take, switching between all the personalities and all of them feeling very distinct from each other. Like, that shows how good of an actor he is. Like, wow, I'm blown away. I loved it. That was such an emotionally heartbreaking scene, and it really made the episode for me. And the song that the show ended up playing afterwards, which was I don't remember what was it. Give me a second to check, because I did add it to my playlist. I must have it somewhere here. Yeah, it's called "Run Through Walls" by The Script. I've added this song to my playlist. It's such a good and emotional song, and it honestly made me cry even more. Like, the last time I cried this much was when I moved for university a few months ago, and I cried because I was moving away from my parents and my family in my hometown, going halfway through the country. and it just really overcame me with emotions. And this is the first time since then that I've cried like this. Like, this was as emotional as that for me, and I can't believe how. I don't really understand why it was even that emotional, because there have been times where shows that I'm more invested in, like The Walking Dead, haven't even made me so emotional, but this did. Like, I don't understand it really. But yeah, that was really great, and I've been listening to that song a lot in the last few days. So yeah, Barry apparently got his powers again, and there's some shenanigans for the next episode, but I'm gonna be talking about it in a separate video. So yeah, I guess now I have to rate this episode. In terms of its rating, I mean, I don't really have too many comparisons to make, because again, this is the first time I'm reviewing the Flash, and I haven't really watched that many episodes of the Flash fully. And I haven't really watched an episode of The Flash fully through, so I don't really have too much of an idea to base it on how I would rate it, but for what it is, for how much I enjoyed it, I think I'm gonna give it a 9.4 out of 10. I think it's a solid episode of The Flash, and definitely one of their best and most emotional, for sure. And it's also a hell of a way to start off the season as well, although I get that this was supposed to be like the 20th episode of the previous season, which got cut off because of COVID, so it's not really what the premiere would have been, but it still worked as a premiere if you ask me, and I really enjoyed this episode. So yeah, it definitely made me check out the next one, which was probably even better. I mean, I'm gonna talk about it more in the next video, so if you're interested, check it out and subscribe to the channel for more. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe. Also, check out the description to my Twitter if you want to follow me there, and to my Wattpad, where I post my stories, because in addition to doing all these videos on my channel, I'm also a writer. And if you haven't enjoyed my stories, or you simply enjoy my videos, you can head over to Patreon, where you can pledge your support and help get the channel going and help support me so I can keep writing the stories you enjoy. But if you don't want to do it, that's completely fine. You can still help me out in other ways, like liking this video, subscribing, and especially sharing this video with somebody who you think might enjoy it. And I think that's pretty much it for this video, so hopefully I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye!